Hi, this is Nora Spangler, and I'm with Stellar Realty Northwest here in beautiful Bend, Oregon. Today, we're going to try and make some sense out of the crazy real estate market, answer a few questions like maybe are we at the bottom of the market? Have prices dropped as far as they're going to drop? That's a great question, and I'm sure you want to know the answer. So let's start by sorting out a little bit of fact from fiction. So all over YouTube and the internet are all the crash videos. I call them the crashers. Yeah, they love to make clickbait. They're making advertising money. Hello, my channel is not monetized. I'm not making money from the information I'm telling you. I am just wanting to inform you as to the reality of the Bend real estate market. So I hear a lot of people asking me and wondering, when is the Bend market going to hit bottom? Because they see prices falling. They see, $50,000 price reduction on this property, 10,000 drop on that one, and it freaks people out. And well, you should be concerned. You should want to investigate. Why is this happening? How much is it happening? And what does it mean to you as a buyer or a seller? A lot of people want to compare what's happening now back to the big crash in '08. And we're going to look at some data that shows why that is not the case. Okay? We are not looking at a crash like we did back then. And the first reason is the mortgage industry is very solid. They are no longer lending to, people that they shouldn't lend to. Back then, anybody and their brother could get a loan, and not only one, but you could get 2, 3, 4, 5 loans. You could buy tons of properties, and that's what happened. And then they couldn't keep up those mortgages. And so what we ended up with was a situation where we had 2 years worth of inventory of homes in Bend. Yes, more than 2 years worth of inventory. And nobody could afford to buy those homes. So when it came down to it, those homes were selling at about 80% of their listed price. So in Bend, back in '07, homes were selling at a median price point of around $370. And then everything broke loose and prices started dropping. And back then, everybody was asking the same question that you're asking now, which is, when is this going to stop? Where is the bottom? Well, we only find the bottom once it starts going back up. Unfortunately, there's no crystal ball that can tell you how far are things going to fall. But there are some indicators, which I'm going to get to. But back then, home prices fell all the way down to about the $200,000 point. So the median price. That was about a 46% loss in value. And if you were around then, if you experienced it or your parents experienced it, you know how damaging that was, not only to the individual people who had to go through it and lose a home and then somehow climb out of that hole. I purchased a home in '06, my husband and I did, in the Seattle area, and we just hung on for dear life, and we had jobs and we were okay as far as that was concerned. We made our payments all the way through, but we watched our home value drop and drop and drop. A lot of people lost everything then, and it's not something to make fun of or to make light of, but this is not that. That's the main point of today's video. Bend's real estate market today is not the same as it was back then. So let's look at our top numbers, because we are on that scary, sort of declining real estate market. If you're thinking of making a move to Bend, I offer a relocation guide. It's just some general information to get you started thinking about things. I'm always available for you to reach out and connect with one-on-one, but if you want to grab the guide, just click the link in the description box down there. Let's jump back to before the pandemic. Homes in Bend were selling for around $500,000. Woo! Wouldn't that be fantastic if you could buy a wonderful family home in Bend for $500,000? Well, that's not the case anymore. But let's even go back farther than that. Ever since we recovered from the last crash. Prices in Bend have just been marching up, up, up. No pandemic, no certain reason really, except that people wanted to live here. They realized how special it was, and they wanted to buy homes here. So the pandemic brought a very unique set of circumstances. People wanted to get out of where they were, too many restrictions, fears, everything. Remote work played a big part in that. Bend is now one of the top remote work cities in the whole nation. And so we had a very limited inventory and a lot of buyers wanting to buy here. So what does that do? It pushes prices up. Low inventory, lots of interest, makes prices go up. The opposite was true in the crash. There were tons of properties, no interest because nobody could qualify for a loan anymore. And so there was a big gap, the opposite gap that we have now. So back then, lots of homes, no buyers. Right now, lots of buyers, not so many homes. So that puts upward pressure on prices, and that's what's happened. Our home prices in the last couple years have gone from a median of about 500,000 in 2020, whereas now they are at about 700,000. Our Bend market is small. We're very tiny, okay? Our town is just over 100,000 people. So it's very unique. It's very Bend specific. And so the national news and the national crashers, talking about what's happening. This guy's walking around and he's talking about the whole market's going to crash. He's saying all these new construction builders just have vacant homes. Nobody's moving in. Look at all these vacant homes. Nobody lives here. And I'm just like, dude, where the heck are you? He doesn't even tell you what town, what city, where he is. I'm telling you that where I live here in Bend, Oregon, that is not the case, okay? I just want you to know. Builders are building, but they're selling them. I've had several clients recently go under contract on new construction that doesn't even have a foundation yet. It's gonna take them 4 to 6 months to build the home. So that's what's happening in our market. There are not, communities of empty homes in Bend. I can assure you that. So back to our peak single month median home price. It was February of 2022 and it was $820,000. And I'm telling you, that number nearly gave me a heart attack because I figured, who the heck is going to be able to buy homes here if that is the new normal? Well, I'm pretty happy to announce that that is not the new normal. And we are now down to a $700,000 median price point. Now, that is a drop of about 15% from our very top peak monthly number to where our monthly number is now. If you annualize or average 12 months of data to sort of smooth out all the bumps and just step back and look at it in a broader sense, guess what? Bend's real estate prices have actually gone up about 11 or 12% in the last year. So it just really depends how you look at the data. So make sure you know what numbers you're looking at, you're talking about, you're thinking about, so that it all really makes sense in the larger picture. And so, no, we do not want a crash, and that is not what's happening. It's more of a leveling out. And yes, prices have come down a little bit, like I said, about 15% from the tippy top they were last year, but they would have to drop a whopping like 65% to drop really far down to like the pre-pandemic numbers. And it's not like we just are going to snap our fingers and unravel that. And here's how I know. Because in order to have a crash, you have to have an excess of inventory and no buyers and lots of sellers. Well, if you're sitting on the sideline, you're a buyer, right? A potential buyer. You're sitting there waiting for something to happen so you can jump into the market. Well, you just ruined it, because in the crash, when a true crash happens, people can't buy. It's a very negative thing for our economy, for everybody. We do not want to have a crash. So please stop wishing for a crash. And what you should be doing is be a responsible human being, look at your finances, and see if you can buy a home, if it makes sense. Yes, interest rates are high, and I hope over time those will come down. Maybe around 5% would be great. I think a lot more people would jump back into the market though, and guess what? In Bend, Oregon, we don't have the inventory for you. Our inventory is about 275 homes right now. Yes, 275 homes, of which any one family or person looking for homes, you may have one or two or three that fit all your needs to look at. We have very little inventory right now. So Bend, Oregon homes for sale, listings are up 58%. Headline, well, they are up 58%, but that means we went from like 70 to 150 or something crazy like that. Okay, honestly, we do not have tons and tons of homes for sale. So here's your bonus answer. Are you wondering how many cash buyers are really in the Bend real estate market? I've heard people say it's like 50%. Oh, every offer I get beat out by a cash offer. And it seemed to be true in the height of the pandemic. I looked at the data and I looked back several years before the pandemic, and about a quarter of all home sales in Bend are going to be cash. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter what year it is. It's not because of the pandemic. It's not because we're being overrun by investors. It's just a fact. So there you go. I'm just trying to educate you. And hey, if you ever need my help, go ahead and contact me. All my contact is down below. I would love to have a chat with you. And hey, hope to see you in Bend.